All right, we're going live this afternoon. A little impromptu LSU football chat, and I'm real happy to have the new guy at WAFB on board with me for this one. John Eads, a Michigander, Syracuse journalism school grad, or we call mass communications at a lot of schools these days. And glad to have him with us. He hit the ground running about 90 days ago, and he's doing a lot there. He got a new studio up there upstairs at WAFB. He's broadcasting from. And what I really like is that, you know what they say, stuff comes back around at some point. I've seen the Nike Air trainers out there that I used to wear in the late 80s. And John's got the same Top Gun hairstyle that I had in the late 80s. Although I don't think mine was as high as his. I need to go back and check the pictures. I'm going to go dig through my yearbook and find one. But, John, welcome aboard, man.
Thank you. Appreciate you having me. And it's a little bit higher than yours probably was because I desperately need a haircut. So we'll see if we can get that done pretty soon. But for now, we're looking like we play on the third line of a hockey team.
Absolutely. Absolutely. One thing I've admired about your start at WAFB is you hit the ground running and you dove right in like you'd been covering the beat for many years, doing breakdowns of the LSU football team. You were in Oxford last weekend with Jacques and the crew. What is your prescription for what's ailing this LSU defense right now? What did you see? What do you think is the morale of this LSU football team after I don't know, say it was a stunning defeat, but it's certainly one that is not the trajectory of the expectations of the LSU fan base going into this season.
Yeah, definitely not. I mean, they've got 2 losses, and we just got into October, right? And this is a team that I thought many others thought would be a national title contender. Sorry about that. An SEC West title contender again for the second year in a row. And with 2 losses already, it seems like both of those things kind of are off the table. But I'm seeing a divide between the team to answer your morale question. The offense is kind of doing its thing, and then the defense is doing whatever the defense is doing. I think the offense is juiced up, fired up every game they play. And being the top offense in the SEC, one of the best in the country, they certainly have a reason to be fired up every time they take the field. When they came out of the second half and they had that opening drive in that third quarter, they were down by 3. They marched down the field, banged in a touchdown, physical. Daniels on the keep, kind of the Bush push, or what the Eagles are kind of doing with Jalen Hurts every game. And Charles Turner, the center, after that touchdown, ran off the field, like I said, like he just won the lottery. Like he was fired up. Everybody's in the back of the end zone dapping each other up, while the defense is just getting gashed every single play. So they got to get a little bit of help, I think. But the unit's taking care of itself because they've got a leader. Jaden Daniels is the captain of that ship. Nothing rattles this guy. He's a great leader for these guys. He has them ready to go every time they're preparing to take the field and go on a drive where the way the defense is playing, they need to score to stay in the game and have a chance to win. As far as the defense goes, I think there's 2 really big problems. One of them is communication. I talk about Jaden Daniels being the leader of the offense. Who's the leader of the defense? The stereotype in football is it's the big middle linebacker who's doing the checks. He's doing the calls in the middle of that defense. They don't have that guy. Is it Mason Smith? I don't hear him say much. Is it Mekhi Wingo? Again, I don't hear him say much. Those 2 are great players, but I'm not sure if they're leaders. In the back end, nobody at corner because all the corners are new. Same with the safeties, really. I guess maybe Major Burns could be that guy. They're just not they're lacking the guy in the middle that kind of runs the whole show, that keeps everybody organized, that helps the young, inexperienced players at many positions on this defense know what they're supposed to be doing. And in a situation where you're playing at Ole Miss and the crazy environment they got going on there, you need a leader telling these guys what to do so they don't miss an assignment. And that's the thing, missing assignments. I went to the whiteboard we have over here. You can't see it today, to do a film review. Guys don't know when it's man-to-man. Guys don't know when it's zone. And on top of that, against Ole Miss specifically, Mike, Lane Kiffin out-schemed House and Coach Kelly and anybody else that works in this defensive room. They were using routes, rub routes, and just plays that put LSU defenders in conflict that allowed Ole Miss receivers and running backs to be wide open for touchdowns. So communication and schematics, those are the 2 biggest problems for me.
Well, Matt House being the defensive coordinator and the linebackers coach, you want to talk about that guy who's the communicator and the guy to get people lined up. Your best performing linebacker outside of Harold Perkins is Whit Weeks, and he's a true freshman. And so I think Weeks can be that guy with more experience, but I don't think he's there yet. I think what was astonishing yesterday at Brian Kelly's press conference, which is something that for him to say it out loud is really something that was obvious to everybody the first week in August when Jimmy Lindsay went down with his medical issue. And again, our thoughts and prayers continue to go out to him and his family and his recovery and rehab and everything else that he's probably fighting through right now and going to be for a while. But Jancic, and BK said it yesterday, that is not his forte. I'm paraphrasing. I don't remember the correct verbiage, but Jancic is not a defensive line coach, an interior defensive line coach. And so you knew that the day before the first day of August camp. And so now I get it. You had, spent a lot of money to get Lindsay over from South Carolina and, wanting to, wait to see what the prognosis is going to be. And there's a lot of ins and outs there. Who could you get to come in? And we can play that game all day long. But now you're bringing in 82-year-old Pete Jenkins as an analyst. And I kind of think that's a little bit late. I do think it can help. Nothing can hurt. But I think that also when you get to the 2-loss mark and you start trying to figure out what you're going to do the rest of the way, you can say at some point they're going to need to have a defensive line coach that is there that you can point to and saying, this is going to be our guy for the next 2 to 3 years. Because by the way, you've got a signing day a couple of months away and a transfer portal that you're going to need to get some defensive linemen. So there's a lot of issues that Brian Kelly's going to have to fight through because that defensive line group, Wingo's going to go pro. I know there's a lot of people before the season saying Mason Smith could go pro. He's not ready to go. But you've got a lot of players that you need there. And not to mention, you've got a couple of defensive linemen in the state of Louisiana, high school kids that you're hoping to flip at least one of them. So, but I agree with you. The lack of communication and, it's like, where do you start first? Is it the defensive front? Is it the defensive backfield? I think you've got to shore up that defensive front first. I was on a show in Alabama today, and Alabama kept Ole Miss to 54, 56 yards rushing. That's the key to stopping Ole Miss, is stopping the run. And they were getting gashed all night long.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of problems between Dart, another dual threat quarterback exposing this defense, and Judkins went off. He hadn't really had a big, gaudy stat game all season, but here comes LSU. And then Ulysses Bentley as well, the backup running back. They made him look like an All-American. Now, he's a very talented kid. He's got a lot of speed. He beat LSU's nickelbacks to the edge on some plays and house called them one time for sure. So, I mean, that's a great team. You got to give them a lot of credit. I don't think the front is that big of a concern personally. I think Mason Smith has done well. Most of the time, as Coach Kelly has said, and you see it on film, he's getting double teams. Like the center and the guard are crashing on him, pushing him back. But when he's one-on-one, he wins most of the time. Like he'll get his arm free, make a tackle, or, push the center or the guard back and force a sack, something like that. I think Wingo's played well, of course. But here's the thing. Here's the big stat that you got to know. In each of the 4 games last year that LSU lost, they had 0 sacks. Against Florida State, 0 sacks. Against Ole Miss, you guessed it, 0 sacks. When this defense doesn't get pressure or has the opportunity to get pressure, and when they do get the pressure, make the sack, make the tackle, they don't win. It's the transitive property of equality. Lack of pressure, no sacks, equals LSU doesn't win the football game. And that's what we had in this game against Ole Miss. Because Dart, as I said, was able to get out of the pocket, step up in the pocket, extend plays, much like KJ Jefferson, pick up first downs that way. And the way LSU is playing defense, they can't run man-to-man because they've got coverage busts. They can't run zone because players don't know how to execute the zone. They're not dropping into the place they're supposed to be covering. Some guys don't know what's man, what's zone. Like they don't even know what coverage they're in. So Dart's getting the ball out so quickly that pressure doesn't even have a chance to get into the backfield. Now, when it did, it was good. Major Burns had a swat on a 3rd down. Yates had a swat on a 4th and 2 that I thought was going to clinch the game. And then Harold Perkins got in the backfield on the final play of the first half for a TFL. I wish they would let him do that more. So when you get pressure, it's a good thing. The problem is they didn't get it enough in this Ole Miss game, and that's where we had problems.
Stephen Young says Greg Brooks was the vocal leader, and then he also adds in another comment, he was the guy who made sure the DBs knew their assignments, and he very much is missed. Lost in all this is him being, not available, and another guy that you got to keep in your thoughts and prayers. It's astonishing between him and Jimmy Lindsay, the issues that we've had with head ailments, medical conditions, and both of them got a lot of a tough road ahead of them. Frank McCaffrey says Weeks is a Dan Morgan all heart kind of linebacker. Put him on the field every down.
Yeah.
Yeah,
no, I agree.
I like what
I asked Coach Kelly after the game because Weeks played a lot more in the second half than Omar Spates did. I'm really surprised with how bad Spates has transitioned to the SEC. Like, he was a 300-plus tackler at Oregon State, all Pac-12 guy. I thought he would be a perfect run stuffer, thumper for this linebacker unit, and he's just too slow. I don't know what the problem is. He's been dealing with injury a little bit this year, so that might have something to do with it. But if he's not 100%, Whit Weeks has done nothing but impress me. He's got speed. He's got the mental side of it, too. He stuffed a shovel option inside the 5 against Arkansas. He stopped that 2-point conversion in this game against Ole Miss. He can blitz, as I said. I know he's only a freshman, but if he's the guy that is 100% and you trust more to man the middle of that defense, put him out there. He's a great athlete, and that's what they're lacking right now at linebacker. And I think in the secondary a little bit too is that raw athleticism, the ability to keep your hand free and keep a running back from getting the edge and be in a better position to make tackles. And I know we'll get into this more than likely. LSU is one of the worst tackling teams in the country. They allowed almost 300 yards in this game purely because they missed a tackle. And that's about half of what Ole Miss put up yardage-wise. I think I saw a stat. They missed 16.9% of their tackles, and that's the 7th worst rate among Power 5 teams. So it's a mix of lack of athleticism, the wrong guys playing, and then really just not playing football. And in football, you need to tackle guys, Mike.
Absolutely. This LSU football update is brought to you by Drip IV over on Perkins Road. Perkins Road, and let's hear from my good friend Brittany over there.
Hi everybody, we're so excited to share the news that both our Lafayette and our Baton Rouge location are offering semaglutide for weight loss.
If you or someone you know are interested in our medically assisted weight loss program with semaglutide, call Kylie in Lafayette or myself in Baton Rouge. We'd love to speak with you.
And I tell you what, you got to get over there. You've been struggling to lose weight. Semaglutide is what you need. Maybe you've heard of weight loss injections from a friend or family member. It absolutely works. This is your sign to check out Drip IV. They offer medically assisted weight loss with semaglutide at both their Baton Rouge, Lafayette locations. Call them to book your consultation. They would love to speak with you. They will also guide you the perfect IV drip that fits your needs. These IVs are great for anyone feeling under the weather or in need of an energy boost. They're loaded with vitamin C and other great vitamins, amino acids, and electrolytes designed to get you back to feeling best in a hurry. Whether it's a hangover, cold, or preparing for a vacation, they have what you need. Located next to Sushiyama and Iverstein's in Perkins Crossing on the corner of Perkins and Essen, a super convenient spot and always welcome walk-ins. Tell them you heard about it on tigerbait.com, and they're going to give you $10 off your first IV drips. Call them at 225-256-3634. Open 8 to 4 Monday through Friday. And starting next week, they're going to be open on weekends, on Saturdays and Sundays. So, but
hi everybody, we're so
1 second. Let me John, go ahead. What you were saying we wanted to get back to. I want to flip the script here a little bit. You mentioned a little bit earlier, talking about the morale in the building. What do you think it's like to be on the offensive side of the ball where that LSU offense is running like an Omega watch, and you're putting up those kind of numbers? Brian Kelly mentioned it yesterday. It's on it's really in LSU history. It's getting right there with 2019, one of the most prolific offenses in college football history, or the most prolific. There's some guys on the offense side of the ball that I know at times in high school played a little DB as well. And you got to be thinking some of those guys are thinking, look, man, I'm ready to go both ways. He's not there anymore. I remember at St. Thomas More, Jack Besh, when STM needed to stop, they would put him in at safety at the end at some of those high school football games. There's other wide receivers on this team that did the same at their high schools. And I bet you some of those guys are kind of feeling that way.
Yeah, it'd be nice to have Travis Hunter, right? A guy that could play both ways like that. You almost wonder. I was honestly thinking about this earlier today. What if Malik Neighbors went out there and played slot corner or something like that? I'm sure he would do fine, But I think for LSU right now, Mike, I think the best defense is offense, because I feel like every game this year, based on what we saw against Ole Miss, granted, Lane Kiffin's a great offensive coach, and, when they get a matchup, a style that will allow them to win a fight like they did in this game, they're going to go off. So hopefully we don't see as bad of defense in every game. But if we do, LSU's got the horses to win races. You know what I mean? This offense can put up points against anybody. This offense will allow this team to stay in any game, win any game. And if the defense can just give them anything, they'll have an opportunity maybe to win this division. Here's the thing. What happens when you run into a team like an Alabama, like a Texas A&M, that has a pretty solid defense? Some people might say even elite defense, and you rely on your offense, but the offense maybe puts up a 20 spot, a 30 spot instead of a 40 or 50 that you might need to win the game. You're in trouble at that point. So for those guys, you got to be feeling good. They're having a heck of a season. It's a shame that the defense is wasting what I think right now is a Heisman-worthy campaign for Jaden Daniels. If this team's 4-1 or 5-0, we're not hearing about Shedeur Sanders, Caleb Williams, whoever else you want to talk about, Michael Penix. It's all about Jaden Daniels, because the improvements he's made has completely allowed this offense to unlock new features and put up the numbers they're putting up. And I think that he would certainly be right in that conversation. Go along with the stats that he's put up. He's top 3 in QBR, top 3 in passing yards, top 3 in total scoring as a quarterback. I mean, he's right there. The problem is your team's got to back that up, and you got to be a national title competing team pretty much to win the Heisman. It doesn't seem like that's going to be the case. So they might be a little bummed. But as I said before, Jaden Daniels, I don't think I've come across a guy that is so mentally strong as him. Like, our biggest gripe with him right now is he's got to stop taking the hits. He's got to learn how to slide. But when he gets rattled, he gets up. And he comes back the next drive as if nothing even happened, right? So he's a great leader for the offense. He's a great leader for the team. People are talking about him in post-game interviews, afterwards. Instead of talking about what went wrong with the game, they're talking about how good of a leader Jaden Daniels is and how he's going to lead this ship, although it's in some pretty bumpy waters right now. So the offense probably a little upset with the defense. Like, come on, guys. We gave y'all 600 yards, 49 points, and you couldn't win us the football game, but you got to work as a team. And I think Daniels is making sure everybody, is stuck together like glue, and they're just going to keep moving on as one.
Absolutely. He's and Brian Kelly, mentioned that yesterday. It really is a shame that because of how poorly the defense is playing, the type of play that Jaden Daniels is putting forth right now. And you talk about him taking the hits. Look, he was doing that last year, and he was about 15 pounds lighter. He is tough as can be.
Yeah.
And, I just advise him to quit the jumping in the air thing that he likes to do when it's time to make contact. Although I do think he probably thinks that helps him absorb the hit a little bit more. But yeah, I don't like seeing him getting thrown on his back when he does that. You're just asking for trouble one too many times, and that could be a problem.
I do respect it, though, Mike, because to me, that's showing me that he's so for the team. He craves every yard he can get. Sometimes it's craving it a little bit too much, though. Like he's trying to get the first down in that Ole Miss game. I think it was 3rd and 8, and that's when he got popped and he fumbled, and that was the only turnover of the game. So, yeah, he's trying to get that first down, but maybe what you learned from that of your Jaden Daniels is, hey, we're going to have more opportunities here outside or inside the red zone. We're going to have more opportunities to score points. Let's at least get our 3 here, not suffer a hit that might cause us to miss the rest of the season and kill our draft stock, right? Let's just slide or go out of bounds. We'll pick our battles. You know what I mean?
All right, well, let's switch gears a little bit. How much have you looked at Missouri? What are your thoughts on this one coming at 11 a.m. Saturday morning?
Oh, tough game. I've been high on Missouri for months. I said a couple months ago, this is a team. First of all, I had them starting 5-0. I've got it on my legal pad downstairs in my backpack. Like, this is all I do all summer long, is study the teams for the upcoming season. And I always thought of Missouri as a team that might be a little bit of a sleeper this season. They got a great defense. Defensive front, at least. Their secondary has kind of struggled this year. Their offense can go punch for punch with LSU. They've got an excellent quarterback. They've got a former 5-star receiver there in Luther Muhammad, I think his name is, and he's put up 5-star type numbers. They've got a good run game. They got a good offensive line. So they're also playing at home. They've already pulled an upset at home. They beat Kansas State. So I knew they'd get off to a hot start. And this game is kind of the prove-it game for them. Because if they win, they're 6-0. And they've got 2 really good wins under their belt. And it's also like, name brands. It's LSU, it's Missouri. Can you beat LSU where most of the country is going to look at this game and go, LSU is going to win, without knowing anything about either of the 2 teams? So they're going to prove a lot in this game, I think. It'll be high scoring. What helps LSU, though, is that Brady Cook, their quarterback, is more of a pocket passer like Will Rogers, and they've done well against those quarterbacks this year. It's those dual threats with speed and a little bit of moxie when they escape the pocket that have given them some trouble. So I think that might be the difference in this game. I think LSU will win this game, Mike, but it's going to be close because both offenses will score. Both secondaries have been atrocious so far, but it's a real solid team. It is not going to be a cakewalk at all. Really, you can't think of any game the rest of the season as a cakewalk for LSU with the way they're playing on defense. So it should be another instant classic. I don't know if it's going to result in a field rush because I think LSU wins, but it's certainly one you'll want to watch.
You just said the word atrocious, which was the in our headline for our post-game show Saturday night, and I've seen it used multiple times, and everybody's using it. I went and looked up synonyms for atrocious, and but there's you use some of the synonyms, and it really sounds like some of them are worse when you're describing this LSU defense.
Yeah,
but
it's pick your word.
Yeah, so you're holding down the fort this weekend. Jacques heading up to Missouri. Sportsline Friday night. And by the way, this is what we got 1 week left with Steve Snyder at WAFB. And of course, we salute him, and maybe we'll get to talk to him before he heads out. But yeah, it's this is an important football game. It's not going to be easy. Like you said, they are 5-0. I get you can look at their schedule and say they hadn't played anybody, but they are a good football team that you better show up and play. And
they've played people. They beat Kansas State. Kansas State does very well year after year in the Big 12 there. So they've played
there
people.
You go. Yeah. All right, John, I appreciate you coming on, hopping on with me. Give me a little over 20 minutes, and let's do this again, man. It was awesome. I like your setup, and we'll be tuning into WAFB. Anything else you want to plug? Talk about some of the stuff you've been posting to YouTube before you get out.
Yeah, so I do a show on Tuesdays and Thursdays, kind of like you do here, and we talk LSU, Saints, a little bit of Tulane. It's called Game Time with John Eads. Here's the link for the website you can find the episodes at. We also have a YouTube channel for our station, WAFB, and I got a playlist there with all the episodes. They're 20 minutes long or so. Sometimes I go over. And we cut those up into 4 different 5-minute segments too. So if you just want a quick little deal, you can watch them that way. We're also starting to do film reviews. So we did one for this game. There were many plays you could pick from to break down from this game. So we did a little bit of that. And, I post a lot of stuff on TikTok too. I made a couple TikToks, one of Jackson Dart hurdling Andre Sam. I got a good shot of that with my camera because I shoot the games a little bit. So all that stuff is good. Just John Eads, WAFB. You look that up on any of the social medias. You'll find me on there.
All right, man. Appreciate it, John. We'll be talking soon. And thanks, everybody, tuning in for this little impromptu LSU football talk. And we'll see you on the other side. Buddy Sonja and I are live tomorrow night at 8 o'clock, as always. And, man, we got baseball tomorrow. Unbelievable. Baseball, Jay Johnson. We got Kim Mulkey and players Thursday. So it's not just a football week for all of us in the media here in Baton Rouge. So, all right, John, talk soon, man. Appreciate you hopping on with us.
Thanks for having me, and thanks everybody for watching.